Hello, everybody, and welcome to the event organized by La Politique Department of Political Science, Kiranmal College. And my very, very warm welcome and special thanks to Mr. Ramesh Menon for accepting our invitation and sparing the time to be with us this evening. It's indeed a great pleasure and privilege to have you among us to talk on this very, very significant topic of media and its role in democracy. We in fact all recognize that we live in the era of post-truth, post-veracity, and charlatanism. In fact, the word post-truth or alternative facts entered the Oxford Dictionary post-2016 after the election campaign in USA, where Trump became the candidate and thereby the president of USA. And since then, we are seeing its growing applicability in the way the news, the opinions, and the facts are actually disseminated on various platforms. And it sort of basically refers to the circumstances in which the objective facts are in fact no longer so influential in terms of forming intelligent, aware, judicious, or erudite public opinion. Therefore, whoever actually wishes to influence and sway the public opinion now focuses or concentrates on the creation of a discourse or narrative that is easy to accept and place an emphasis on what satisfies the emotions and the beliefs of the audience instead of hard-hitting real facts, which could be very uncomfortable on various occasions. So it, in a way, also creates this kind of an echo chambers where any contrarian view is either ignored, shunned, or even silenced. It's also being said, and we hear this very often, that the credibility of the media has reached its nadir point. The values are getting compromised, the truth is getting buried, morality is getting accommodated, and voices are being choked. The speedy corporatization of media houses, this mad race for TRPs, the hype and the hoopla around alternative facts, and the quick media trials which we witness very often. We're just seeing that kind of things happening in last 2-3 months with the Bollywood star. So we are seeing this happening in and around us. And there is whole, the melodrama which surrounds the news. And this actually has transform the character and the contour of the media. And when I use the word media, I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm talking about this whole information communication network systems which have been set up. And also, I mean this very hyperactive social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, which actually influences the younger generation enormously. So one of the reports also says this generation is actually taking its information more from these social media platforms than buying print newspapers in the morning. So this is a shifting time, how the generation, the upcoming generation and the students in the colleges and in the school are getting the information, and how it is getting transformed and disseminated are important factors which we need to keep in mind when we start the discussion about understanding the media and its behavior and its impact on the people in general, how it is actually transforming the democratic system, the lexicon, the language of the politicians, the language in which the campaign is conducted. All these has taken actually a big shift, at least in last decade or 10 years. And we have yet to actually fathom and discern and absorb this kind of a shift, and also to come up with very significant empirical researches on how it is transforming the democratic institutions itself. So the place of editorials, the place of well-researched articles, do we have any audience left for that? Or the pandering of the media to the emotions of people has become the name of the game in current circumstances. And in that context, we have seen that globally, I would say, that we are witnessing what is called that we create heroes overnight, you know, and we also create villains overnight. We almost sort of instantaneously provide verdicts. And more interestingly, what agendas are picked up by the media houses as a prime time news, which in India is a 9 o'clock news, is often getting determined by what is trending online on social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook. So all this needs to be thought, all this changes have to be observed, sort of studied, and we as a political scientists need to do some kind of research on what is it doing to the whole gamut of democracy per se. So the question that comes to the mind of many is this kind of relentless bombardment of spiced up, or in India what you call masala news, diluting the creditworthiness of the media at large? And what actually can be done to restore the democracy, restore the autonomy, the accountability, the answerability, and the integrity of the media, which is so fundamental for democratic institutions to have their legitimacy in the systems. And I'm also sort of reminded of what our late and former Indian President Pranab Mukherjee resoundingly said to the Indian media, that the discourse, the disagreements, the dissent are so essential for energetic vote-based system. And media must be held responsible for the activities and actions, but also for its inactions and or silence, which often can also be very strategic silence to not pick up these issues, not bring the issues to the limelight of the public domain. And he very, very categorically stated that media must be the guard dog, the arbiter between the pioneers and the people in general. So today, as we gather on the eve of Gandhi Jayanti, 1st October 2020, it's time for, I believe, sort of deep introspection by the civil society, but you and me, all of us together. And we need to seriously ask, as enlightened, educated citizens, what can be done to check this downward spiral? Or have we arrived at a sort of inflection point, and what can we do to restore this faith in the media? And can we really be hopeful about the future of media being the real fourth estate or the fourth pillar of democracy? So we will be deep diving into some of these questions with Mr. Menon. And he will certainly throw more light with his deep and profound thoughts and insights, and also he comes with 42 years of experience in journalism. So I'm sure he can decode this very, very vexed and complicated concerns that we have as a student and also as the faculty of political science. So we would love to hear from the journalist opinion with this huge experience, that how do you see the media today? And as I do that, I have to do another thing, which is formally introduce Ramesh Menon ji to all of you, to our audience, to our students, and all those who have joined from various platforms, because I see huge number of people online have logged in for this very pertinent event and very important topic. So Mr. Ramesh Menon is an author, journalist, filmmaker, and also a corporate trainer. He has been, as I said previously, a very active journalist for now almost 42 years, and has worked in numerous leading or Indian media houses like the Times of India, the India Today, the Business India Television, and TV Today. So all these are big media houses in India. And he's also an editor-in-chief of the Leaflet legal website founded by a very, very celebrated lawyer and human rights and gender activist, Indra Jay Singh. He was a recipient of Ramnath Goenka Award for excellence in journalism. And he has also been involved in making the socially sensitive films on various issues which the Indian society grapples and deals with. He has made films on social issues, and also he has gone ahead and made films on ecological concerns, on concerns of environment, etc. He has so far authored 6 books. I hope there are many more coming soon. And then, these books sort of range from, again, socially sensitive issues from caste in India to communalism, and also to lighthouses of India. His last book was very interesting, and it's titled as Modi Demystified: The Making of a Prime Minister, and that was published by HarperCollins. He is also, as I said previously, a soft skill trainer, and he's held a number of workshops for numerous corporate houses and institutions. He's presently an adjunct professor, Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communication at Pune, Maharashtra, and Center and course director for creative writing at Sri Aurobindo Center of Arts and Communication, which is at New Delhi. So on behalf of the whole Department of Political Science, the La Politique, Kodimal College, let me extend a very, very warm welcome to Mr. Ramesh Menon. Thank you once again for being with us this evening. I now request Yajashvi Suman to provide brief guidelines for the events. Over to you, Yajashvi. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening to everyone who has joined us for the webinar today. I'm here to brief the participants with the necessary guidelines. They are, number 1, the participants are requested to keep themselves mute until asked to unmute. Number 2, as soon as our guest speaker finishes, only then the participants can put up their questions in the chat box. I now invite our guest speaker, Mr. Ramesh Menon, to enlighten us with his pearls of wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was almost embarrassing, the introduction, but let's get straight into the topic. I'm really looking forward to being with all of you today, especially because I got a WhatsApp message today morning from a former student of mine who also studied in your college. And what she wrote to me was that, you'll get really tough questions today and you'll really enjoy it because the students there are very, very good. And she gave me some examples of that. So that is why I'm actually looking forward. And there is nothing better for me than to be with students, because I think that they are the future. They are the people who can repair the damage that is being done to democracy today. Now, to begin with this subject, is media functioning as a 4th pillar of democracy? I would like to tweak this subject a little bit. Instead of asking, is media functioning as the 4th pillar of democracy, should we not be saying that, can the media even be called as the 4th pillar of democracy? And my answer is a straight no. No more. It was at one point of time, but we have lost it. By no stretch of imagination can you even say that the media is the 4th pillar of democracy in India, which is really sad because it is a watchdog. The media is so important for a democracy like India. The future of democracy depends on a free press. It depends on an energetic, strong, and ethical media. something that has gone completely out of the window. But I want to take you a little back because all of you are so young. You all were not even born when I started my career in journalism, which is 1978. And I can tell you, when I walked out of my classroom, a journalism classroom, with an appointment letter in my hand, which was from the Times of India, I can't tell you how proud I was, because that was a dream. That was not only my dream, it was a dream of every classmate in my class. We chose journalism not because there was money in it. We chose journalism not because there was glamour. We chose it because it was a vocation. It was something that we wanted to do. It was because we could be warriors of Indian society. We could be watchdogs. And we could write about so many burning issues of the day. You know, there was so much of passion in the classroom. Today, I can find that missing. And I don't blame the students for it. I blame the system which has failed them. The media has failed this country. Today, things are so very different. Uh, Working with the Times of India at that time, I'm talking of 42 years ago, was such a pleasure. It was the number one newspaper in India, and it was very, very different from what you read today. There was nothing called Delhi Times. There was nothing called Mumbai Times. There was nothing called Pune Times. It was just a newspaper. There was nothing called Page 3. And we dealt with really good subjects. The burning issues of the day was what all journalists were involved in. And it was such a vibrant profession. 3 years later, I moved into India Today, which was India's best magazine at that point of time. Don't compare it with what you're reading today. It was so different. If you go back and look at issues of what we did when Babri Masjid was demolished, you'll be amazed at the kind of journalism that we did. It was pioneering journalism. It was burning with a different kind of passion to bring the truth. And we went against all odds to fight it because we were wedded to the ethics. We were wedded to the cause of why we are journalists. Look at it today. It is another propaganda machine. You know, I don't read India Today anymore. And I feel very sad about it because I spent 16 years of my life in that magazine. And those were some of the best 16 years of my life because of the kind of work that we did. We had complete freedom. I still remember the interview with the Times of India editor, and he told me that, listen, when you join this magazine, there is only one person that you need to be loyal to. And I was wondering what it was, because Mrs. Gandhi was the Prime Minister at that point of time. And fortunately, the answer came from himself. He said, the only person that you have to be loyal to is the reader. Never ever let the reader down, because if you let the reader down, you have let India Today down. That was the kind of philosophy that we had. And look at what is happening today. Look at the debates on television. You can watch it for half an hour, and after half an hour, switch it off, sit back and ask yourself, is there something that I learned today? And the answer would be that you learned nothing, because it's a shouting, slanging match. Is this journalism? You know, look at the kind of stands that journalism is taking. We are not supposed to be wedded to any party. We are not supposed to be wedded to any philosophy. We are journalists. We don't belong to anybody else. I always tell journalism students that your religion, what is your religion? Is it, I've done workshops with them where I've asked them this question, what is your religion? So they write Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, whatever. And I keep telling them, all of you are wrong, because your religion is journalism. It's so clear. But look at it today. Do you find that anywhere? Look at print, look at television. Print is much better than television. I was just sharing with Dr. Rupinder Oberoi that I'm quite happy reading 5 newspapers early in the morning. I get 5 newspapers. And the reason I get them is because I cannot rely on television anymore. And I spent 8 years of my life with TV. Those were very good years. We did very good journalism. And that's the only happy news that I have to give you today. That I was a journalist at a point of time when things were very, very different. Today, you have a different kind of government. You have a different kind of pressures that are working on journalists. You have a different kind of corporatization which has come into the media. The moment corporates come into the media, what do you think they are interested in? Are they interested about poor people not getting their ration? Are they interested about the kind of travails that migrants go through? Are they bothered about inflation? Are they bothered about the rising price of vegetables? They are bothered more about the stock market. They are bothered about their business interests. And that is what they'll secure. They are looking at the media as a business enterprise. But that is not what the media was like in 1947. In 1947, the role of the media was very clear, that we are going to fight for a new country. We want a different kind of country. And the value systems were very different at that point of time. Today, look at the value systems. Look at the kind of journalists that we have. Look at the fact that there have been people who have cases against them, but they are anchors. And look at the kind of anchors that we have. What are they talking about? I have got calls from television stations asking me to come on debates, but I never go on them because I know that I will never be allowed to talk. I'll give you one simple example. I got a call from one of the TV channels asking me to come on to their primetime show, and they were going to discuss the encounter of Ishrat Jahan. And it did not take me 10 seconds to say no. But I immediately rushed home to watch that show that day on Ishrat Jahan. And they did not allow anyone to speak because they were very clear that this is an encounter which must happen, because otherwise our prime minister would have not been alive today. They would have killed him. There were only two people. One was a human rights lawyer and one was a human rights activist from Delhi. They did not allow both of them to even speak one line. What kind of debate is this? You know, and I don't want to dwell on it because all of you know about it, but look at what the media has become today. It caters to the lowest denominator of public taste. It does not live up to its role of being a watchdog, of being an upholder of democratic values, of safeguarding human rights, of exposing hollow and narrow-sighted politics, and the kind of degenerating political culture that we have in this country. It is not even following the basic ethics of journalism. And most importantly, it is not talking to power. See, it is very, very important in a democracy that you have journalists asking tough questions. But today, there are no questions being asked. There are no press conferences. You know, journalists are reporting on Twitter messages that so-and-so minister said this. But why don't we have a press conference? And if we have a press conference, it is a read out statement. There are no questions which are entertained. What kind of democracy is this? Are we living in a banana republic? Why can't we go back to the old values of journalism? And we cannot go back because the corporates have taken over the media. The only solution of saving the situation is to have public funded journalism. Are you guys ready to fund that? I mean, that is what is most important. Unless the public funds it, you cannot have journalism which is seeking the truth. Truth is what someone somewhere wants to hide. The rest is all advertising. So what you are getting today is advertising. It is not journalism. Look at the kind of trivia that is being doled out. Look at the kind of issues that are being talked about on television. And television is important because it's a visual media. It's very, very powerful. It has a tremendous effect on the viewer. And the viewer thinks this is what India is all about, when it is not. Why aren't we discussing the burning issues of the day? Why aren't we discussing about the economic slide that India is going through? Why aren't we not discussing about the fact that 8 lakh young people come into the labor market every month? It is not a small figure. 8 lakh young people come into the labor market every month. We are not talking about them. Why aren't we talking about the fact that our graduates today do not have employment opportunities? What are they going to do? What are they studying for? What is the future of this country if we are not going to look after the interest of young people? But there are no debates on that. The debates are on, a Twitter message that was found on an actor's phone. And half an hour is gone on that. 1 hour is gone on that. 6 days are gone talking about it and chasing that actor. Do you have evidence? Do you even have the right to have a media trial? But media trials are going all over the place. But we do not have the strength to ask questions to power. And I think that is very, very important. How can we lose this demographic dividend that we have in this country today? Just think about it. How lucky we are as a nation that we are full of young, vibrant people. No country in the world has so many young people, educated. And we are losing out on that dividend by focusing on non-issues all the time. How long are we going to do this? And how are we going to be fooled by this kind of propaganda? We are not talking about people who are defaulting on the taxes. We are not talking about huge corporates who have taken loans who are not paying it back. We are not talking about justice which is being delayed to millions of people in this country. Justice delayed is justice denied. It is such an important thing in a democracy, but we are not talking about it. We are rattling on completely inconsequential shouting, screaming debates, pointless discussions in channel after channel. Media is very, very important. And we have to be worried. All of you should be very, very worried about the sad, pathetic situation of the media today. Why? Because media has a very, very important role to perform in a democracy. It is actually a channel between you and the government. It has to mirror your thoughts. It has to mirror your concerns. It has to mirror your worries. But are we doing that? As a media conglomerate in India, what are we focusing on? Even print is trying to copy television. This is the tragedy, You have a channel which is doing all the wrong things, but its TRP is very high. And because of that, the other channels which are even more sober are also trying to copy that. How can you copy the lowest denominator of public taste? And really speaking, the TRP is fake. How is the TRP determined? Just go and research on this today, and you'll realize what a false world we are living in. How is it that the media picks up issues which is trending on social media? Is that what we are supposed to do? Or is it our job to really talk about burning issues, to be the watchdog of democracy, to correct all the wrongs that are happening today, to point it out? We are supposed to hold a mirror to society. But are we doing that? Media exists to flag the fears and anxiety of society. Are we doing that? Media is supposed to incubate ideas. Media is supposed to create a platform for exchange of ideas. But look at our debates. Have you ever learned anything out of any debate that you watched on television? Now, if I'm not learning something, why should I watch television? And it is so ironical that 42 years in journalism, active journalism, I don't watch television anymore because it disappoints me. It makes me angry. Uh, and it does so many things with my mind. And I don't want it to destroy my mind. So you have to find sanity, and one way of doing that is just to switch off television and look at something else. Look at things which will uplift your mood, which will give you a sense of energy, which will give you a sense of positivity. All that is not being done. Where are the good stories? Why aren't we doing good stories? There are so many good stories in India. Why aren't we doing that to uplift the morale of a country which is searching for questions and questions? Uh, when a journalist starts asking tough questions, they are dubbed as anti-national. I think this is a great, great ploy, because I don't want to be called anti-national. And so I'm also scared. I also go and hide somewhere. I stop talking. I stop asking questions because very few people will be able to tolerate the troll army. But this is a paid army. They are paid to do this. They don't even believe in what they are doing. But since they are paid to do it, they'll do it. They'll go after you when you start asking tough questions. They'll go after you when you try and write about relevant subjects and get it published. Even getting it published now is a tough thing to do. And to find platforms where you can have voices. That is also very tough to do. There are islands in India. There are islands of sanity in the media. And they are shrinking islands because they are all fighting with the reality that you need money to survive. And that is why I keep saying, unless public funds good journalism, it is not going to survive. Journalism is going to die. TV journalism is already dead, according to me. But we have islands of good journalism. There are people who are standing up and saying what they are supposed to say. Because it's our job, it's our profession. We are just doing a job. It's not that we are great. But even to do that, it takes a lot of courage today. It takes a lot of courage to speak the truth because you have so many things which would come and attack you when you talk about the truth. The media was always looked up as a watchdog. And it is supposed to be always watchful so that nothing wrong happens. But look at it today. Do you find that happening at all? Today, the media has become a partner in crime. I want to repeat that. It is a partner in crime. It is actually working overtime to destroy democracy. And worse, it is helping the government of the day to deflect public attention from burning issues like economic distress, unemployment, domestic violence, inflation, destruction of democratic institutions. Now, when you're doing that, my question is, what the hell is the media asking? It is not the silence of the media that is the problem. It is the hyperactive shouting media that is the problem. Because you can never refer to that as the fourth pillar of democracy. I know, as a concept, media can be a fantastic, strong pillar of democracy, but not in the present circumstances. I do not know whether things are going to improve in the future, but it all depends on the viewer. It all depends on the reader. You have to demand good journalism. You have to pay for it. And you must stop watching bad channels. Why are people watching it? Unless you stop watching it, they cannot be changed. You have to force that change. You have to watch good channels. You have to buy good newspapers. You have to go to good websites. It's only then that you strengthen their hand. But when you go and pander to the lowest denominator of public taste, they get stronger and stronger. So in the guise of freedom of expression, the media today is normalizing the absurd. This is very, very dangerous. They are doing it again and again every night on television. This is the greatest danger to democracy, as there is no one to check the powers that be. Journalists cannot be a part of government propaganda. They should never be a part of government propaganda. But today, they are voicing exactly what the government wants them to talk about. We cannot be a part of the government narrative. You know, earlier, I'm talking of many years ago, the media was never with the government. It was always with the opposition. Today, the media is against the opposition and it is with the government. So you see the dichotomy there. It is a complete anachronism. Journalists have become like government spokesmen, quoting ministers on Twitter as they do not give spontaneous interviews anymore. I already spoke about it. The very fact that 8 lakh young people come into the labor market every month should worry you. What is the kind of future that you have? These are questions that you need to ask. All of you need to ask this. Where is the unemployment data in this country? Do you know that unemployment data will not be available from next year? Because they have stopped culling it. They do not have unemployment data anymore because they don't want to talk about it. Because it's such a shocking scenario. It is for the young to take up the gadgets. And I have great faith in them. And that is exactly why I'm investing my time today talking to all of you. Because I think this is the only ray of hope that we have. You know, Reporters Without Borders, it's an organization, it ranks India 140 out of 180 countries in the world as far as press freedom is concerned. If that is the truth of life, I want to ask you a simple question. How do you call the media as the fourth pillar of democracy? So corporatization of the media is increasing. It's a business for the corporates. And they would not be bothered investing money to investigate corruption in politics, rigging of elections, plight of migrants, the health conditions in India, the fact that, you know, health is such an important issue. It should be on TV every day, not the pandemic. You have to talk about the health infrastructure in India, the conditions in India. Do you know 1,200 people die of TB every day in India? No one talks about it. And they've been dying for years together. TB is such a serious issue, but we are not talking about it. And I can flag so many issues like that, which the media does not touch at all. What is the so-called pillar of democracy doing to stop the spread of fake news? They are actually spreading it. And you have this very, very small organizations like Alt News, which are busting fake news day after day after day. But how long will they survive? They also need money to continue. And I think unless the public get together and fund these people and take these people to task for destroying the fourth pillar of democracy, I don't think there is any hope. I'll stop here because I want to listen to all those interesting questions that you want to ask me.
Thank you, sir, for keeping your views on the topic. The participants can now put their questions in the chat box, and due to shortage of time, only selected questions will be taken up. I request Arya to kindly unmute and ask a question.
Good evening, everybody. Am I audible to everyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
So my question is that why professionalism and media ethics have been placed at back burner and sensation above sense has emerged. Silver bulleting, the political affiliations, the aggressive journalism, and the star news anchors. So my question is this for you, sir.
See, the thing is, uh, there was sensible journalism at one point of time. You did not have shouting, screaming anchors. You had news on television, right? You did not have debates at all. And suddenly, this whole business of shouting all the time, of not allowing people to talk, about having debates where you ensure that you have both parties so that they fight with each other all the time. And then you create a kind of a political circus on television. That became popular. It caught the imagination of people. People liked the fact that there were shouting anchors asking tough questions. And that picked up. And after that picked up, everyone thought that this is the way to go. So they followed that. And that became a disease. And it has become a disease which is so rampant today. On every television channel, you have the same problem. You hardly have any television channel today which can have a sensible debate. It's as simple as that. Oh, there are so
Yes,
many
sir.
questions. Should I read them?
So I'll read that for you. I request Simriti Makhija to kindly unmute herself and ask a question.
Good evening, sir. We are glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
Sir, the justification of some TV channels is that we are not here for charity. We are here to make profit. And TRPs are like their marks. They go with TRPs to the advertisers and therefore advertisers come. So they say that people are loving watching Sushant Singh Rajput's case and conspiracy theories. Why should we show them about the economy or about the falling GDP? So what are your thoughts on this, sir?
See, what is our job as journalists? Are we pandering to creating a business in this country, or are we doing a job? Journalism, the job of journalism is to ask tough questions. We are supposed to look at burning issues of the economy, burning issues of unemployment, burning issues of hunger. It is not about Sushant Singh Rajput. You know, if we pander to the lowest denominator of public taste, suppose you show pornography on television, you will have more people watching TV. But can we do that? Think about it.
Sir, they do things in the legal foundations only.
That's right. They're not allowed to show pornography. That's why they're not showing it to you. But if they had a chance, they would do that too. You know, the point I'm again trying to make is, if you have a media house which is a business enterprise, they are not going to do journalism. So support institutions which are doing journalism. That is the only way out. We have to be warriors here. We can't give up like this. Because if we give up, imagine the damage that is going to be done to democracy. This is such a fantastic opportunity for this country. It's such a fantastic time for journalists to ask questions. I mean, this is the best time for journalists. Look at the amount of issues that they can write about. It is the best time for the opposition. But look at the state of the opposition today. Are they doing their job? They've also disbanded. Everything boils down to one thing in this country. There is a crisis of character. That is the whole problem. We don't care about this country. We only care about ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Yeah.
I
Thank you.
request Savika Singh to kindly unmute herself and ask a question.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
So my question is, what are the factors which are responsible for the reduction in the value of media in today?
Very simple. It's just the chase for making money. Every media organization is looking at money. They're looking at it as a business enterprise, which is not wrong. I mean, they should make money, okay? Because otherwise, who will do it? This is not social work, you know? But the fact is, the greed for making more and more money, and the complete abdication of responsibility. You are supposed to do a certain job. You're not doing that job. You're just making money. And that is the problem. The greed to make more and more money. Now, why are corporates getting into the media? It is not to make money, by the way. It is to gain power and then arm twist the government in power because you have a media house. So the government is also very careful dealing with you. It gives them a very great sense of power to run a media house. They are not interested in money because they have other industries which are making money for them. The media can never make that kind of money. But they are holding on to the media because it gives them tremendous amount of power to bargain with the government, to push their business interests.
Okay, sir. I request Vinay to kindly unmute himself and ask the question.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
So, do you think that that nobody else than media is better at exploiting the freedom of speech?
I don't think so. I don't think anyone else can do it worse than them, you know. And they always talk about the freedom of expression. They always talk of freedom of press. But what are you doing with that freedom? Are you, doing what you're supposed to do? That is the more question. And there is nobody who can really stand and talk to the media. And everyone is happy with the kind of situation. Politicians are quite happy with the media because this is how they want it to be. They don't want a tough media.
So, do you think one more thing that media has been successful at exploiting our psychologies? That when they discuss these gossips like Sushant Singh Rajput and all.
Absolutely. At a subliminal level, it affects even the intelligent, because you're just sitting and watching it, and at at the back of your mind, at a subliminal level, these are things which are affecting you, and you also become pedestrian like them.
Means,
in terms of thinking of those
the receptiveness of such information, such gossips is so much that a person who is very hardcore wired into reading print media, he is also allowed to watch this. Means it is so gripping, the gossips and all those things.
It is addictive, absolutely addictive. I agree with you completely, and that is why I don't watch it.
So, sir, Soumya, sir, we are also consumers of that thing. Okay, fine.
So moving on to the next question, I would ask Himanshu Khanna to kindly unmute himself and ask this question.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for insightful views on journalism. My question to you is, in the recent case of Sudarshan TV, Supreme Court imposed a prior restraint order. So what are your views on this particular prior restraint order by the highest judiciary in the country, which sets a sort of precedence in respect to the right of the viewers, the right to know of the viewers. Like we as a viewer have the right to know what the media has to show. So how do you place this prior restraint in that perspective? Thank you.
See, that is the whole trick here. Where you keep talking about the right, but what are you showing? Look at the amount of hatred and the amount of misinformation that program would have created. In the name of freedom of expression, you are creating something called bureaucracy jihad. What are you trying to say? That the Muslims are infiltrating the IAS and the IPS and the IFS, and they will destroy this country. Is there any iota of truth in what you're trying to say? You're just creating that hatred, and a lot of people will believe it because they are watching it on television. And you have an anchor who's talking about it, and this will spread. It is much easier to spread misinformation than to spread logical, rational information. It is very, very dangerous. They should have completely removed, they should have punished that channel, in fact. Instead of that, we never knew about Sudarshan channel till yesterday. Today, everyone knows about it. How dangerous is it? How can you allow something like this to happen?
So seeing the shortage of time, I now am asking the last question. I request Umang Chaudhary to kindly unmute himself and ask the question.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you here. So my question is that what is your take on the ongoing media trials in the country and also in general, and how far do you agree that these media trials affect the judgment of courts, and what can be the solutions for it that to restrict the media trials from doing more harm than good?
Media trials should not happen at all. It is not our job to do this at all. We should never be doing it. I think it is completely unethical to do this because that's not our job. One. Second is, I think the media also needs to self-regulate itself. Should we be doing it? There should be a body within the media itself which should tell the media not to do things like this. But they are all toothless bodies. Like the Press Council of India, for example, they are all toothless bodies. But I think there has to be a movement to create an independent regulator who will look after it. But the moment you bring a regulator, the press will be up in arms. They'll say, no, we are losing freedom. You're trying to control us. That is the whole problem. And that is why this thing is not happening. But the very fact that media trials are going on and there are vested interests for media trials. There are parties in power who want this kind of thing to happen. So you can rig anything. You can rig information. You can create a new story. You can create a new narrative with a media trial. You can influence the judiciary with a media trial. So that is the power of the media. Do you remember the Jessica Lal case? It is one headline in the Times of India which reopened that case. And that headline said, "No one killed Jessica." And the court was forced to reopen that case and send that guy to prison. That is the kind of power that the media has. And we should use it in the right way rather than using it in the wrong way. Why are we doing media trials? Are we even equipped to do a media trial? Do we have the wherewithal? Do we have the intellectual prowess to do a media trial? We are journalists. We shouldn't be doing this. We should just be talking about the truth. And that's it. Report. Go home.
Thank you, sir. Seeing the shortage of time, I now move on to Pankhuri Jain, the President, La Politique, to kindly conclude the session.
Thank you, sir. As we come towards the end of the webinar, I, Pankhuri Jain, on behalf of La Politique, the Department of Political Science, would like to extend our deepest gratitude to our respected guest, Mr. Ramesh Menon, sir, for enlightening us with his knowledge and words of wisdom. I would also like to thank our staff advisor, Dr. Rupinder Oberoi ma'am, and all the department professors for joining us today and for their constant support and guidance. Also, I thank the council members for making all the arrangements and the audiences for their cooperation and interactive participation. Now, drawing inspiration from Sir's word, I truly believe that Indian media is facing a crisis of credibility. The mainstream media is increasingly vested in the hands of a select few and reflects or refuses to question the authority. Moreover, it is very important to understand this disturbing trend. The media should understand that how important discussion and dissension is, or how important or how crucial it is for a vibrant democracy. Moreover, in a democratic setup, media should realize that it is the voice of the voiceless, the conscience of the conscienceless society, and a lamp to illuminate dim, dull, and dingy spirit. The events and the movements that take place in society should be pictured, portrayed, and presented as it is, and should not be sugar-coated and colored in the interest of vested few. As rightly said by Walter Cronkite, freedom of press is not just important to democracy, but it is democracy. So I end here, and I thank you all once again for joining us today. Thank you. Thank you, sir.